COVID-19 is surging in countries with lower vaccination rates in Eastern Europe, but also in countries with some of the world's highest vaccination rates in Western Europe. Vaccines do not replace the need for other precautions.
Look, I got vaccinated, and people took me to task for that, and I thought, all right, I'll get the damn vaccine. Here's the deal, guys. I'll get the vaccine. You fucking leave me alone.
New cases of COVID-19 are again sweeping across Europe, a 50% jump in October and a similar surge so far this month. Europe is again the hotbed of a pandemic that won't go away.
I'm seeing the storm clouds gathering over parts of the European continent. We've been here before, and we remember what happens when a wave starts rolling in.
1.4 million Europeans have died from COVID-19. Countries with the best medical systems are no match for this virus. Even the vaccinated are getting sick.
Well, why to get the vaccine then if you're not going to leave me alone? And I don't think the evidence that unvaccinated or that vaccinated people are less contagious, let's say, and that's excusable in some sense because we didn't know what sort of threat we were facing. But then the breakdown, it's really appalling in Canada, the breakdown of our rights, let's say, for mobility, for freedom of speech, etc. It's particularly grating to me in the Canadian context because way back in the 80s, Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, our current Prime Minister's father, who was quite an intellectual, he was very enamored of French civil law, and he grafted a Bill of Rights on top of the Canadian federal common law structure, essentially. And I didn't like that at all. I thought that was a bastardization of a great English common law tradition. I'm not a fan of Bills of Rights because they're predicated on the idea that you have a finite set of rights and that the social contract awards them to you or the government. And I think that's backwards. It's like, you have all the rights there are, except those that are expressly forbidden by detailed legislation that mostly was generated from the bottom up. That's the English common law tradition. Anyways, everybody celebrated the Bill of Rights. Aren't you protected? Oh my God, all our rights are protected now forever. You know, it was Pierre Trudeau's major accomplishment, hypothetically. Now we have his son, and it's like, yeah? What's it good for? My father isn't vaccinated. He decided not to, partly because they were telling him he had to. And he has his other reasons. I have family members who aren't vaccinated for health reasons, who also had COVID twice and didn't really feel they needed to be vaccinated again. In any case, it's extraordinarily annoying to see this happening. To then find out that there's nothing behind it except like the most instrumental and cowardly random polling, extremely disheartening and also maddening and also angering, all of those things at once.
Do you think it's possible that the polling is out of whack too? I mean, you've been doing polling forever, right? I mean, this is one of the things. Of course,
it's out of whack. Jesus Christ, you know, I mean, how do you get accurate polling data? Well, okay, over what time frame? You're going to poll every day? How about every hour? How about every minute? Every week? Every 2 weeks? Who answers the phone calls when you do the polls? How did you construct the questions? Are you eliciting a particular kind of answer because you paid insufficient attention to the way the question was posed, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not guidance from the polls. It's a quasi-informed random walk, which is a lot easier than thinking it through. But to see that happening in spite of the much vaunted protection for our rights, like, you know, Canadians who aren't vaccinated now cannot leave the country. What the hell? Why is that? And look, I got vaccinated, and people took me to task for that. And I thought, all right, I'll get the damn vaccine. Here's the deal, guys. I'll get the vaccine. You fucking leave me alone. And did that work? No. So stupid me. You know, that's how I feel about it. It's like, well, now I have to get tested for COVID when I come back into Canada. I have to get tested before I leave Canada. Now, you know, that might be the latter issue. That's an issue with the Americans. And so that's outside of the Canadian purview. But the restrictions to get back into Canada are even more stringent. It's like, well, why to get the vaccine then if you're not going to leave me alone? And I don't think the evidence that unvaccinated or that vaccinated people are less contagious, let's say, I don't think it's very compelling.
Yeah.
So why are the unvaccinated all of a sudden a danger? And I certainly don't understand the push to get children vaccinated. I think that's Okay, so yeah, let's let the old people freeze in the dark. That's what's going to happen in Europe if we get a cold winter. Who's going to sacrifice here? Well, I can tell you the answer to that. Let's play leftist here for a minute, okay? So there are hierarchies. I think they're competence hierarchies, but they're corrupted by power to some degree. Mm-hmm. And how much is worthy of investigation, and we should always clean them up. I mean, you just did that in some sense when you said our institutions are corrupt, right? And we have to be very judicious. Which institutions? Where are they corrupt? How are they corrupt? At a level of detail. And analyzed in a manner that allows us to fix them instead of replace them wholesale, right? So, okay, in any case, in a hierarchy, when there's stress, illness and death climb from the bottom up. That's partly why you want to be nearer the top in a hierarchy, because it's actually psychophysiologically easier. Obviously, because otherwise, why would you strive for it? I mean, there are other reasons. You know, maybe you want to do good for other people. Maybe you're motivated by power. Maybe you're a psychopath. Maybe you're acting instrumentally. There's lots of other reasons, but one of the consequences of success is that you don't die. So who dies first? Well, as soon as you stress the system, let's say we double energy prices. Well, what's the sacrifice? Well, old poor people. Because they're more susceptible to, say, death when they can't afford air conditioning, when they can't afford heat. And so, yeah, but there's too many people on the planet anyway, so, you know, what the hell? We cull a few, whatever, you know. They're just poor people. And this is the thing that bugs me so much. It's like, okay, leftists, which side are you on here? It's like, are you gonna sacrifice the poor to your hypothetical future utopia? Yeah, but they're all gonna die anyways because the planet's gonna burn. No, it's not. The IPCC never said that. So Bjorn's modeled out, you know, a reasonable amount of climate change in meaning temperature increase over the next 100 years. He's taken what's promoted as the scientific consensus. There is no consensus in science. That's not how science works. Mm-hmm. It's not a consensus enterprise, but nonetheless, he's playing along with it. Okay, we'll take your figures. It's going to produce somewhat of a decrement in in global economic growth, but growth is about 4% a year. And so even if that declines a chunk because of global warming, everyone's still going to be like 5 times as rich as they are now in 100 years if we don't screw things up. And so maybe they'll be 4 times as rich. Well, that's a cost. And fair enough, you know, and if we can ameliorate it, we should probably try not to change natural environments any faster than we have to, right? Because of unexpected consequences. It's a reasonable argument.